There is a reason everything feels stretched right now. Time doesn't flow like it used to. Moments collapse in on themselves. Memories from years ago surface with uncanny clarity, while yesterday feels like it happened in another lifetime. You're not broken. You're not losing touch with reality. You're standing at the threshold, not of an event, but of a choice. A sacred, cosmic choice that your soul has been building toward across lifetimes. This is the place between timelines, a place where realities fork, and every step you take carves a path into the quantum field. You're not watching this moment unfold, you're creating it. You may feel a strange kind of vertigo, like the floor of your life no longer feels stable. And that's because it isn't. The structures of the old timeline, the one built from survival, compromise, conditioning, are collapsing beneath your feet. Not as punishment, but as a gift, because you are ready. Ready to step into a timeline that aligns with your highest expression, your soul's remembrance, your divine frequency. But here's the paradox. You can't walk into this new reality as the version of yourself who made peace with staying small. You must let go of timelines where you betrayed yourself for comfort, where you delayed your joy in the name of logic, where you silenced your truth to be accepted by people who were never meant to walk with you beyond this threshold. This is more than just healing. This is dimensional shedding. And it begins with awareness, the sacred recognition that everything around you is shifting, because everything within you is shifting. You are not just healing the past. You are unplugging from a timeline that no longer holds your soul contract. And every discomfort, every glitch, every strange déjà vu is the quantum field asking you, are you sure you still want this version of reality? Because in this timeline, the one you're in right now, you can still choose to turn around, to go back to the known, to pretend this awakening didn't happen. But once your eyes open to the multidimensional nature of your being, once your body remembers the resonance of a different path, you can't unknow it. You can't unsee the way your soul has been weaving a map toward this moment for lifetimes. You are not here by accident. This is not a phase, not a crisis, not a detour. This is initiation, the sacred trembling moment when your soul whispers, it's time. Reality is not what we were told. It isn't fixed. It isn't singular. It isn't even linear. What you call your life is a stream of selected probabilities, a filtered flow of infinite potentials, collapsing into form, moment by moment, according to the vibration you carry. This is not esoteric metaphor. This is quantum law. At the subatomic level, particles exist in a state of pure possibility until they are observed. They hover in a wave function, countless realities, all viable until consciousness enters the equation. And what collapses that wave into a point? You, your focus, your expectation, your belief. Not once, but constantly. You are a walking observer effect. Your every breath, emotion, decision, collapses one timeline and activates another. So the question isn't, can I shift timelines? You already are every second. The real question is, which version of reality are you stabilizing through your frequency? Because here's the deeper truth. Timelines are not chosen through logic. They're chosen through resonance. The emotions you dwell in, the stories you believe about yourself, the thoughts you rehearse, these are the tuning forks. They determine what timeline you're attuned to, what possibilities you can perceive, what events are drawn into your experience. This is why two people can walk through the same external world and have completely different realities, because they are not walking the same timeline. They are projecting a different frequency onto the quantum field, and life is responding with mechanical precision. So what happens when you begin to shift your frequency? You start to feel it in your body first. Restlessness, disorientation, old habits becoming unbearable, old relationships vibrating out of sync. Futures you once chased now feel foreign, even lifeless. That's not failure. That's divergence. That's your consciousness phasing out of one timeline and moving toward another. A process that is deeply intelligent, but also deeply uncomfortable. Because here's the paradox. You can't bring your current identity with you into a higher timeline. You can't upgrade the future while anchoring to the past. Timelines shift when you do. When you stop speaking in language soaked in limitation. When you stop compromising with fear. When you stop looping your energy into dead-end loops of shame, guilt, or someday. That is when the field begins to reconfigure. That is when the alternate realities, the ones your soul has been whispering about in dreams, in synchronicities, in deep inner knowings, begin to surface. Not because they suddenly became real, but because you did. You stepped into the version of yourself that was already living it. That's how quantum reality works. It's not about hustling to build a better future. It's about aligning with the version of you who already exists there and letting them show you how to collapse into that frequency. That version of you is not fiction. It's physics. Because time, as you've been taught, is an illusion of your limited perception. Your future self is not somewhere far away. They are simply vibrating faster than the version you've been identified with. And when you shift your vibration, when you say no to timelines that are out of resonance, and yes to the ones that make your soul hum, you collapse the distance. You merge. You become. And the world around you changes to match. You don't chase the dream. You become the timeline. That is the power of conscious choice in a quantum universe. That is what they never taught you in school. That you are not here to find your destiny. You are here to choose it. In every thought, in every moment, in every breath. When a timeline begins to collapse, you don't always hear a bang. You feel it in subtle tremors. In the friends who fall away, the passions that fade, the clothes, the words, the dreams that no longer fit. You feel like you're falling out of yourself. And in a way, you are. Because every timeline is built upon an identity, a particular version of you, forged from choices, wounds, beliefs, and repetitions. And when your soul starts vibrating at a frequency that no longer supports that identity, the timeline that held it begins to dissolve. The things that once defined you, the patterns, the relationships, the jobs, the coping mechanisms, they begin to glitch, to distort, to decay. This is not chaos, it's precision. A quantum intelligence within you is unraveling what no longer aligns. And yes, it may feel like your world is falling apart, but in truth, it's falling into place. You are not losing everything. You are shedding a skin that was only ever temporary. And underneath that skin is the you that chose this awakening before you were even born. The you who encoded this exact moment into your life's blueprint. The you who said, "When the veil is thin, I will remember." That moment is here. You are not the same person you were yesterday. And that's not a metaphor, that's quantum literalism. You are a different cluster of energetic patterns, thoughts, possibilities. And those shifts are not just inner. They ripple outward into time, into space, into the field of the earth herself. Because when you collapse an old identity, you collapse the timeline that identity lived on. And when you choose a new one, not from fantasy, but from soul resonance, you activate a new corridor of experience. This is where multidimensionality becomes embodied, because you are not just moving into a new version of your life. You're syncing with a new you. The you who already walked this path, who already remembered how to speak the language of energy, who already knows how to live in alignment with the sacred. This isn't about adding more. It's about removing everything that isn't that. And sometimes that means grieving versions of yourself that you once fought so hard to protect. But that grief, it's sacred fire. It burns through timelines you no longer consent to carry. The trauma timelines, the martyr timelines, the delay timelines, the timelines where you gave your power away in the name of love, approval, safety. Let them burn, because only in the ashes of the false can the true emerge. And what emerges is not something you need to figure out. It's something your soul already chose. Before your name, before your face, before the circumstances you mistook for fate. The soul is not linear. It doesn't wait for logic. It speaks in resonance, in knowing, in déjà vu, in the subtle magnetic pull of something ancient. And when you start to follow that, when you listen to the call of the future self who is already living the timeline your heart aches for, you begin to phase shift. You begin to live like you remember. You begin to act as if your highest life isn't some fantasy, but an echo you are finally catching up to. That is the essence of timeline mastery. It's not about force. It's not about waiting. It's about becoming the frequency of the reality you wish to experience and letting the universe rearrange itself around your embodied truth. Because it will. It always does. The question is never, can I create it? The question is, am I ready to live in a way that no longer supports anything less? There are moments in time where time itself becomes charged, where the space between choice and consequence compresses, where every thought becomes a blueprint, where every act, no matter how small, sends shockwaves through the quantum field. You are in one of those moments now. The karmic timelines are splitting, not as punishment, but as precision. You are not here to be tested. You are here to be mirrored. The energies you've entertained, the beliefs you've rehearsed, the stories you've told yourself about who you are and what you deserve. They've shaped not just your current life. They've created echoes, parallel versions, alternate branches. Each possibility you rejected or embraced lives on in another strand. Each choice made from fear or faith birthed a corresponding reality. And now, those threads, those timelines are converging and diverging in rapid succession. This is what mystics call the time of separation. But it's not a separation of people, it's a separation of frequency. Two souls can stand in the same room, breathing the same air, and be living in completely different realities. One loops in scarcity and survival. The other dances with synchronicity and higher guidance. Not because one is lucky, but because one chose resonance over repetition. And here's the great mystery of timeline entanglement. Every time you make a new choice aligned with soul, aligned with truth, aligned with love, you're not just changing this life. You're liberating other versions of you, across dimensions, from the contracts they carried in your name. Because timelines are not isolated, they are braided, and each healed fragment echoes into the whole. So when you break a toxic pattern that's lived in your family line for generations, you're collapsing a karmic loop across lifetimes. When you reclaim your voice after years of silence, you're realigning with timelines where your wisdom was buried, burned, erased. And when you say yes to the dream you kept locked away, you're opening portals to futures that have been waiting for you to remember they exist. This is not abstract. It's cosmic architecture, because you are a multidimensional being, a soul with echoes in every corner of time. And every time you choose alignment, even in the smallest way, you harmonize the quantum web of your entire existence. This is why the intensity is so high right now. Not because you're being punished, but because the field is responsive. And it's waiting for you to claim the timeline that matches your soul's true tone. But to do that, you must be willing to leave behind the timelines you've outgrown. The one where you tolerate less than you deserve. The one where your light stays dim to keep others comfortable. The one where you delay your expansion until someone else gives you permission. These timelines are bleeding out now, and as they die, they may scream. In the form of fear, in the form of doubt, in the form of temptation to go back to sleep. But you didn't come here to sleep through your awakening. You came here to choose, to feel the burn of transformation, to shed the skin of smallness, to step into the frequency of the you that remembers, the you who already lives in divine alignment, the you who already trusts the unknown, the you who already knows the future is not predicted, it's embodied, and in that embodiment, you become a living access point, a convergence node, for timelines of liberation to anchor through you, not just for your own life, but for the collective. Because the timeline you choose now is not just personal, it is planetary. You are not just shifting your own fate. You are helping humanity fork into its next octave of evolution. And that is why your choices matter more than ever before. They are not isolated events. They are quantum codes. There's a moment subtle, but irreversible, when your body starts trusting the timeline you chose. It might come quietly, in a breath, a morning where peace is louder than panic, an interaction where you no longer perform for approval, a decision made not from force but from flow. That's the point when the new timeline stops being an idea and starts becoming your default frequency. But make no mistake, this moment must be earned, not by proving your worth, but by staying faithful to your truth even when it costs you comfort, even when people don't understand the path you're taking, even when your nervous system trembles, detoxing from years of survival timelines, even when your ego whispers, "Go back, it was safer there." This is where the real work begins, the sacred discipline of living as if the shift is already complete. Because the timeline you choose must be inhabited, not visited once in a meditation, not accessed in a fleeting state of clarity, but stabilized, rooted, lived. And living it means saying no to every loop that threatens to pull you back. The drama timelines, the overthinking timelines, the timelines where you keep waiting for the world to change before you do. You weren't meant to adjust to dysfunction. You were meant to become the frequency that reveals it has no power here. And from that place, that still, sovereign place, you become a stabilizer, a walking portal, a lighthouse. Others will feel it in your presence not because you preach, but because you resonate. The words you speak shift energy fields. The spaces you enter recalibrate around you. And not because you tried, but because you remembered who you are. This is the embodiment of timeline mastery. Not escapism, but full spectrum sovereignty. Not bypassing what's hard, but facing it with the awareness of one who knows. This pain is not permanent. It is just the remnants of a timeline dissolving. So let it dissolve. Let it fall. Let it unravel. Let the dust of your old selves settle in the soil, fertilizing the future you are now rooted in. Because this future, it is alive. It listens to you. It responds to your level of presence, of clarity, of love. And it keeps evolving just like you do. Because this isn't the end of your timeline journey, it's the beginning. Once you learn to jump, you'll jump again. You'll refine. You'll align. You'll rise and recalibrate again and again, not because you're broken, but because you're becoming. And becoming never ends. That's the miracle. Each moment is another invitation to tune deeper, to embody wider, to live louder than the scripts you inherited. This isn't just personal work, this is planetary. As you stabilize the light of your chosen timeline, you become a node in a web of awakened beings, anchoring a new reality into the collective grid. This is how new worlds are born, not through revolutions, but through resonance. And you, beloved soul, are part of that resonance. You didn't stumble here. You heard the call. You felt the ache. You remembered something even if you couldn't name it. And now, you stand here, between what was and what will never be again. You are not lost. You are not late. You are the bridge. You are the frequency. You are the shift. So live as if the miracle has already happened. Speak as if your voice weaves timelines. Choose as if your soul is crafting reality with every breath. Because it is. Because you are. The forgotten light in you is remembering. Don't turn away now. If this message awakens something ancient in your soul, don't let it fade back into the noise. Subscribe to this channel not just to follow content, but to anchor your remembrance, because what comes next goes deeper. And your soul came here to walk this path not alone, but with a tribe who remembers too. So like, comment, and share this with those who are ready to choose their timeline. And together, we'll keep collapsing the old and becoming the new. The light in you is rising, and the universe is listening.